Hello, guys. So today's guest is Santiago R Santos. He's angel investor and quite active in the space. Great to have you here, Santiago.
Hey, Anna, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And you mentioned that a lot of people consider NFTs, the price of NFTs in Ethereum usually. And talking about NFTs, I see you have a CryptoPunk. Can you tell more what other NFTs do you have and what's your whole opinion about NFT space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think NFTs are fascinating. And most people today think of NFTs as art, just that, like either a profile picture, but you're buying an image that is beautiful or you like and you collect. But I think NFTs really, the use cases for NFTs are vast. Basically anything that's non-fungible. It could be an insurance contract. It could be a parcel of real estate that it can be fractionalized, like real, actual physical property. It could really represent anything that is non-fungible, that is unique and has unique characteristics. And so I think it starts with art. It doesn't end there. I don't consider myself an art connoisseur by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I like certain things and I collect things that I like. I love punks because to me, they're very emblematic of the start of this movement. It was one of, if not the earliest kind of forms of NFTs in the Ethereum blockchain. And I love the punks that I collect, most of which I've collected. If, like, for instance, the one that I have that I use publicly, which is, has glasses, the traits are nerd glasses, has a beard and has a hoodie. And I have a beard, so it speaks to me. I wear glasses, I'm practically blind. And so that speaks to me too. And a hoodie, I think, is emblematic of hacker culture. I think you think about Mark Zuckerberg initially when he started Facebook, like, I feel like that speaks to the culture of, crypto and Web3. And so, I think it's been pretty interesting. I'm very excited about NFTs. I think since I got started in crypto, it has been difficult for me to explain crypto or the reason by which you would want to have crypto to a lot of people, especially in the US, or developed countries. They're like, look, my bank account is okay. Like, there's all these applications that I use, like Revolut or TransferWise, or, that are just work fine. Like, what's wrong with the financial system? Like, most people think this way. But NFTs are very relatable. Like, it's gotten so many different people that otherwise probably wouldn't have been interested in crypto, interested in this technology. And seeing that journey is fascinating, because I think that's what really takes us to mainstream adoption, right? I mean, I think the analog here is, but the analogy here is like the internet. Before email, most people kind of didn't really see the need to use the internet. It was mostly used by academics. It was mostly used by institutions. And it was very rare to have a personal computer or to actually use the internet. There's actually funnily enough, a lot of pictures of cats being uploaded on the internet, the same way we had crypto kitties. Like, most people kind of really see the value of the internet. But email made, like, the idea of sending and communicating using an internet protocol is such a killer use case. And I think NFTs are doing that for crypto in a way that, everyone, collecting is a social sport. People want to differentiate. And NFTs allow you to take the concept of digital scarcity and property in a very fun and relatable way, which is, where you want to differentiate in digital context, right? And NFTs uniquely enable that. Because my punk is my punk, and it's very clear that it's my punk. Sure, people can copy it, people can right click, save, and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you can inspect the blockchain and it's mine. And that's never been possible before. And so, look, do most people appreciate everything that I've rambled upon? Probably not. But that doesn't really matter, because really good technology gets adopted. And most people kind of don't really know how the internet works, don't really know how an airplane works, can't even draw a bicycle, but they still use it because it's great technology, because it offers a very killer use case, a 10x improvement to your whatever you're doing. And so I think that's really the bull case for NFTs here. Is it will make crypto, it is making crypto relatable to so many, and it will open up their eyes to other things that they can do in this space. So, I was talking to the Bored Ape teams, the Bored Ape team early on. I said, hey guys, like, first of all, fascinating that you've done this. And they built a community and said, yeah, over 50% of the people that are buying Bored Apes have never used crypto before. It's probably more. And so to me, that's super exciting, right? because, most people, if you look at the user base in DeFi, like a lot of people like using DeFi for very experienced, kind of sophisticated, very small subset of people, like actually think about like, and are excited about using like decentralized finance protocols, like, but NFTs are a totally different story, and gaming. So those are the two areas that for that reason, I became very, very interested in NFTs and gaming, because, you have the possibility of really opening up a huge funnel of people that want to collect NFTs and they want to play games. And then it doesn't stop there, because you sure as hell know that once they enter the space, the hope is that you retain most of them. And the hope is that they start using other stuff and they appreciate the power of Web3, which is having digital property, owning, stuff that can be pretty unique. And so that's kind of what I see in terms of what I collect. I collect stuff that I love, but I don't collect for the sake of investing. Like I don't see it as an investment. I just collect stuff that I love and support artists that I really like. And so that was the idea behind PleasrDAO, which I'm a member of and most active in.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to ask you about PleasrDAO. Can you explain more what is this and how it works?
Yeah, PleasrDAO is a collective really of people that came together. A lot of us knew each other, and initially we wanted to buy. All of us individually wanted to buy People Pleasers, which is one of the greatest artists that I love her work. Video for Uniswap V3. So when Uniswap V3 was going to launch, she did a great video that anyone can see online, and a lot of us wanted to buy it. And so instead of bidding each other out, we banded together and bought it collectively. So that was the genesis of PleasrDAO. Today, it is probably the largest DAO in terms of having a collection of very unique assets that represent internet culture, Web3 culture. So for instance, we bought the Snowden NFT, which is the only NFT Edward Snowden has created, and in conjunction with his organization called Freedom of the Press. And it's a very beautiful NFT with his face, and it has all the court documents that he won against the US government advocating for privacy. And obviously, privacy is a big component of Web3 culture. And so we bought that. That was probably one of our biggest acquisitions, our second one as well. And then we've gone on to collect other stuff. Like we bought the Wu-Tang album. That's a physical item. And Wu-Tang is kind of it speaks to kind of open source and disrupting the media industry in a very interesting way. And they were kind of pioneers in their own field. And we bought other stuff and so I think the idea, and you can think of PleasrDAO as kind of a Medici house. So the Medici family in the Renaissance was a patron of the arts and supported a lot of artists and new kind of movements. And I think we want to aspire to be like that, where I think a lot of artists will increasingly think about how can they do NFTs? How can they, join the movement? And we want to be that house for them that supports them. What's beautiful to see really is, so many artists are being discovered in this kind of NFT movement. And it was difficult for a lot of artists to be discovered in the real world. It's controlled by a few galleries. And think about like even people like super famous artists back in the day, like a lot of them didn't even get famous until they died, and like years later. And now you have people like, look at Bored Apes, right? I mean, they did a drop and like they're super successful now. Who would have thought Bored Apes was going to do a collaboration with Adidas and like in 6 months? Like it's wild, right?
Yeah. Do you have yourself any Bored Apes?
I have owned a few. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I do not own any to my detriment today. I like punks more. So I like CryptoPunks. To me, I just aesthetically, I think are more pleasing. I like them. But I'm very fascinated and interested in the whole kind of Bored Ape community and what they are doing, because I think it's one of the first projects that started with an NFT drop, right? That did 10,000 kind of NFTs, but they've gone on and like expanded on that and have, it's built a nice community. They're doing concerts, they're doing partnerships. And so I think like in many ways, Bored Apes could become the biggest protocol, if you call it that, because it has a very strong community. And you could layer on top so many other services. Like they could become a DeFi protocol tomorrow if they launch an AMM and called it Bored Ape AMM. Like, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, as I think of investing, the hardest thing to do is capture attention. You are as a company, really, not only in crypto, anywhere. It is an attention game. Like you have to capture the attention of your customers, and doing that is very hard. Increasingly so because we live in a world where like we have an iPhone or like smartphones, and we're constantly distracted, and so it's an attention game. And Bored Apes, that as a project, as a protocol, as a community, has done something pretty interesting because it's capturing a lot of attention and retaining it.
And I see you're a big supporter of DAOs. So why do you think that it's better form of organization, and in which cases it's beneficial to run a DAO, and in which cases it's not necessary?
I'm glad you asked the question because I'm very excited about DAOs. I think they represent a way to coordinate resources and capital. Like it's essentially like it's a corporation with a bank account that just can be set up within seconds. And you can create these rules that are expressed in a smart contract and have all the properties that we like of crypto, which is immutability, transparency. But as you kind of alluded to, yeah, like or organizations are kind of messy, and DAOs just slapping like a DAO and like creating like a Gnosis safe or whatever and creating like is not going to solve that. It's really hard to coordinate like humans to come to consensus. Blockchains are consensus mechanisms where like it's kind of easy for Bitcoin or something like Ethereum, like you're settling blocks, but there's very kind of little ambiguity. Like I guess like in a proof of work network, like Bitcoin, like you're solving a puzzle and like people agree on the puzzle and the answer and fine. But a DAO, in the DAOs that I'm a part of, I think the biggest challenge has been, well, how do you band together to have a particular mission or goal? Like, hey, we want to, I don't know, you're in Dubai. Yeah, we're going to create a Dubai DAO, and we're going to all like, I don't know, we have shared passion or interest to, I don't know, buy a property. And say you want to like create a DAO to buy a property, and you band with 5 friends, and fine, you form a DAO, you fund it to go buy an apartment in Dubai. But then the real messy part is, well, how do you agree which apartment you're going to buy? Well, you might want one, and then the other people might want, and so if you can't reach consensus, if you can't reach, it's how are you voting? And it's kind of like that's the hardest thing. And I think increasingly a lot of DAOs will find it difficult to create rules and logic from an organizational perspective that, at the end of the day, these DAOs need to function kind of properly. But I think generally speaking, like the DAOs, what's really exciting is, through decentralization, the goal is, think about how many companies that you may have been a part of where it's very hierarchical, like you send a report to someone, and then that someone sends a report, that other person sends a report to higher up and higher up and higher up. And at the end of the day, the quality of the information and the interpretation of the said information degrades as you have a lot of hierarchy. You need to have some hierarchy to reach kind of like, at the end of the day, there needs to be someone in charge that, for functioning, right? You are in charge of it. You have some power and autonomy to like put things in motion. Otherwise, if there's no hierarchy, which is what some DAOs aspire to be, I would be very cautious of that, because you need to have some hierarchy for things to work, right? Someone needs to say, like, think of a network like Ethereum. That there's an Ethereum Foundation that has a core developers, and Vitalik. Like Vitalik is kind of like a benevolent dictator, but he has a lot of power to, especially in the early days, to direct kind of the path that Ethereum takes, and the community looks up to him. Imagine if there was no Vitalik. Like it's kind of really hard, right? Like at the end of the day, you need some hierarchy. But the last thing I'll say is I think the bull case for DAOs is that it pushes information, it pushes value and decision making to the nodes that are processing the information, that are closest to the information, or the more qualified people. And I think you can express that in a smart contract, saying, okay, say Anna, you're really good. Back to the example of buying a property in Dubai. Say that you've lived in Dubai for so many years, you are great at real estate. So as a DAO, we're going to say, well, you're going to be in charge of finding it. Now you might have to submit a proposal for people to read, but at the end of the day, it's you that are going to be in charge of buying the property. And someone else in the DAO might be really good at managing the property. And so you start like creating these rules and logics, and a lot of them you can express through a smart contract. And I think at the end of the day, like if we do that correctly, then DAOs can become the future of internet native kind of corporations. I think like the last thing to say, in every major kind of technological movement throughout history, you've had a new kind of way to coordinate and organize. So, think of like back in exploration times where, ships were like being sent to like circumnavigate the world. This is Magellan and Columbus. Like you had insurance and you had a new form of like funding these expeditions. And then you had the creation of like a limited liability company. This opened up, investing in venture capital as an industry in the United States and then elsewhere in the world. This idea that you can have limited liability and you can invest in stuff, and you have a separation of personal liability and limited liability. And I think now the internet, since the internet got started, you haven't had like a internet native company or way to organize, and I think DAOs do that in a very interesting way.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And you were a partner at ParaFi Capital, and currently you are more into angel investing. So can you tell the differences between decision taken in venture capital and decision taken when you just analyze projects as an angel?
I'd say I still do the same work. It's just my capital. But the level of rigor and analysis that I do and decision making is obviously more streamlined because when I was at ParaFi, like we were a team and we had an investment committee, and it was how you would it's a team effort. Now I still have a process in place. I still do the same kind of work, but it's just my capital. And in many ways, it's I get to spend more time with founders and connecting with them and things that I enjoy the most. And so it's a little bit different just from that perspective, but I think my framework for investing is very much the same. Perhaps the areas and the things and the stages and the way I express my thesis can be a little bit different because check sizes are different, the stage is different, maybe the opportunities that I'm looking are not just focused on ParaFi initially were very much focused in DeFi. Now obviously I think they do other stuff as well, just generally Web3, but my range of the things that I can potentially, my mandate is whatever I feel there's alpha, and wherever I feel like there's an opportunity, it really is, there's really no limitations.
And can you share some of your recent investments and why are you excited about them?
Sure. Yeah. Like, I think like there's so many, I'm very active. But I will say, like, I'll start thematically. I'm very interested in gaming. So, I think for me, games are making crypto super relatable. And look at what Axie has done. And so Axie is just telling you how big this market can be. And I think it's been impressive to see what they've done. So I'm very excited about Illuvium, which is probably going to be the most immersive, game out there. I've invested in other games as well. Most recently kind of a game in Finland who, has some of the best kind of game developers from Web 2 moving into crypto. And like, this is the founder of Counter-Strike as like an advisor. And so Counter-Strike is one of the best games out there. And so to me, that's very encouraging. So that's a project that I just recently seeded. And so thematically, that's like gaming. I still am very excited about DeFi. I think DeFi will probably see a resurgence. We've been in this kind of DeFi winter, but I think it's really gaming and NFTs in this entire movement really carries forward because once, it's really DeFi in the back end. And so you could be playing a game, but you're swapping SLP, you're doing other things. And so I'm excited about DeFi protocols, especially new ones that are exploring with, different incentive designs. To perhaps single one project, I've been vocal about this. And by the way, none of this is financial advice. This is not a recommendation about these companies. I have over 100 investments. And so, it's hard for me to kind of cherry pick one. And founders might be like, why didn't you name my company? I'm excited about all of them for a variety of reasons. But one that I feel very passionate about is this protocol called Jambo, which is going to build what I think is going to be a Web3 super app in Africa. And in my portfolio, I just didn't have any exposure to Africa. But demographically, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Africa. It's a country that doesn't have a lot of infrastructure. It's very young people that are very tech savvy and get it. And I think like in a similar way, like Africa is going to be the most populous and most densely populated, maybe not most densely, but from a population growth perspective, countries like Nigeria and Ghana and Congo and like these places are going to have massive population growth. And so Jambo is
quite big into crypto too.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't have infrastructure, right? Like most people, like there's no banks, right? And so I'm very excited because I think this is a prime. We've always talked about crypto and the potential to disrupt a lot of industries. But, finally, I hope, and the hope here is you service a lot of these people that need access, that need a bank account, that need access to credit, that want to earn, make a living in something like play to earn. And I think this is Jumbo aspires to be the main app, like the same way that WeChat kind of became a dominant force in China, where it became the everything app, right? It started with social, it started with chat, and then they do everything for you, through WeChat. Most people do everything, is my understanding. Like they connect to their bank account there, they stream video, they order food, they hail a cab. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, it's become this super app. And I think Jumbo is going to try to do that and will do that, I think, because I think the team is super competent, James and Alice. And so I'm very excited about that, like, because I genuinely think that that's where you probably see the biggest impact in opening up access to Web3 to billions of people.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things and value of crypto. And do you have any altcoin picks currently?
I don't like to give altcoin picks because, people might like my pick today might not be my pick tomorrow. Like, I'm not a trader per se. So I don't like to kind of give like these type of recommendations, but I've sort of like already said it, right? Thematically, I'm very excited about, I think as dumb and simple as it may sound, I'm very excited. Like, if you believe in the rise of NFTs, continued interest in adoption, if you believe gaming is going to be a thing, and maybe social applications are going to be a thing, then, you're left wondering, like, maybe sometimes the simplest investments are like going, saying, okay, well, all of this is going to be supported by a network like Ethereum, or is being built on a network like Solana. Like, sometimes that might be the best investment, because a lot of times it is very difficult and has been to outperform something like Ethereum or something like Solana, because ultimately a lot of the activity, and the value, it tends to accrue to these networks, like base layers. And so I continue to be very constructive on a network like Ethereum. I think it's going through, obviously, the merge happening this year. I think it's going to happen. And, everything that I've read and discussed with other folks leads me to believe that the transition to proof of stake is going to happen this year. And I think we've been waiting for that for a long time. And I think that combined with, obviously, IP 1559 went last year is very constructive and very, I think, it's very encouraging for a network like Ethereum that continues to attract most developers and activity. Solana is obviously interesting as well. The quality of projects is going up a lot, and increasingly been interested in Cosmos, which is, very battle tested proof of stake, like, system. And like Tendermint as a protocol is very bad. Like, protocol like Terra is built on Tendermint, like Binance Smart Chain, I think, is Tendermint. And so I think from that perspective, like, it's quite interesting. And so I tend to follow developers, and where I see a lot of smart people continue to build on Ethereum, and increasingly Solana as well. And so, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Ethereum will be probably forever the biggest ecosystem. Thank you for sharing thoughts with us. It was great to have you.
Yeah, of course. No, I know we tried to do this for a long time. I'm very happy to come on. Hopefully it's useful. People enjoyed it. And I don't know if you have any final questions, but otherwise, always happy to come back.
Okay, maybe we will make one more interview next time and see how the market changes.
Yeah, see how terrible my predictions were and terrible how my thesis was. I'm sure I'll be, this is part of investing, right? If you're not wrong frequently, then you're doing something wrong. But I think, we all kind of are here and excited about what's happening, and it's hard not to be excited, especially crypto has taken so many different forms. It started with Bitcoin, and then it's become so many different things, right? And that's what's most exciting about this space.
Yeah, we will see the performance of your angel investments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.